So Antarctica. Why did we go to Antarctica? So Sue was going to come here, but she stayed in bed. Especially when she saw how cold it was. It was described to us when we finally ended up in Buenos Aires, and we were in the hotel with all the other passengers. So the boat we were on only had 62 cabins. It's the only Category 6 Icebreaker, which is a passenger tour boat that goes into the Antarctica. All the rest are different styles of boats, but that has the highest rating, built in Norway. And when you see the picture of it, you go, wow. It was described to me as the only place in the world you can go to as if you visited another planet and not left Earth. And when you see the pictures here today, that'll make you realize what it's like. Now, if I'm running over time, because I can talk about this forever, please keep me in check. So we went from New Zealand to Dallas. And why did we go to Dallas? Because we've got some really special friends who live in Dallas, and we went there for Thanksgiving.
Nice.
The only thing I hated about it is all they wanted to do was watch bloody American football all that weekend, because it's a big football day on the beach. We then went from Dallas down to Buenos Aires, spent a few days at Buenos Aires, went down to Ushuaia, down to the Antarctica Circle. When we came back to Buenos Aires, we went to Iguazu Falls, and then unfortunately we had to take that whole route back again. So it was a lot of traveling, but it was well worth it. So when we were there, one of the things that happened was that we were able to go leave Ushuaia. Normally you just traveled around here, but because we had such a great journey, and it was so calm, everyone talks about the Drake Passage as being the roughest place in the world on sea. It was probably 1/2 meter swell when we went across. And so we were able to come from there, we came right down here into Horseshoe Bay, Horseshoe Island down here. And we spent a lot of time, which is beyond the Antarctica Circle. So that was fantastic. That's the boat. It's called the Endurance. As I said, that it's 62 cabins, and it's an open ship. So as a passenger, I can go anywhere in that ship, and even the engine rooms, and look through it, etc. Down where the Zodiacs are and all the kayaks and that are as well. But also on the bridge, I can go at 3 o'clock in the morning and go and have a cup of coffee with whoever's driving the boat at that time. It's great, very good. It had around about 15 scientists on board, and they spoke about all sorts there. So from the orcas to the seals to the birds. There was someone who got up early in the morning and counted how many birds he could see in the sky and what they were, and that was his thing. And but there was one guy there who had probably the most interesting hours presentation. He did it twice on the journey. Was a guy who taught you how to use your camera your phone as a proper camera and get better quality. Now, all these pictures, or most of these pictures from here on in, are from Sue's phone. Right, so you can see from there. So there's the bridge, and you can see how close that boat got to the walls of the island, and we did go on the continent as well. So not only in the islands, but we went on the continent. You can see all the gear. I was really interested in this because I come from a maritime background from there. So we went to Texas. So we went and had Thanksgiving with our family and friends, etc. And they always have a thing called a turkey trot, which is actually just a charity walk. 5 or 6 Ks, you do it, and all the locals. You talk about retirement villages. Sarah and Fred, they did live in California. They got sick of the fires. They shifted to Dallas. Now they've got the tornadoes and the storms. But in the community they live in, it's a gated community with about 3,000 to 5,000 homes inside it. The average price of those homes is around about $340,000 US. It's a big home, so it's got 2 lounges and 3 bedrooms and big kitchen area and what have you. But the thing that it has a full golf course, 27-hole golf course. It has a restaurants attached to it, gymnasium and swimming pool attached to it. And the biggest thing they're doing is building pickleball. I think the Americans are really there. But it was, typical Americans, we, at Thanksgiving, we went out into the community as well. Sue had to pick up a policeman, of course, ex-policeman, and went along to that. So we went there twice, and I'll show you some other pictures later on. So then we flew down to Buenos Aires, and this is really a typical graphic picture of what's on the walls in Buenos Aires. Very much in their the demons and the cults and etc. from that, but they're also very much into their religion and supported from there. Why isn't that going? It was going there 2 months ago.
Yeah.
It's going to make it awkward, isn't it? Pressing to the...
That's why.
Back there you go, Rose. Why is it? I think we might have a freeze.
It's too cold.
At first.
There you go, there's your presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a bit early. Yeah.
This is not, it's not a small
Without seeing being able to see the building.
It was on the
But the whole program
Do you think it's that's obviously buffering all the stuff in front of us. But it wouldn't have a huge cost.
The beauty of technology is we wanted to.
There we go. Okay, let's see if this is works. Okay, we'll start again. What are you doing there?
It's just a bloody book.
One of the things in Buenos Aires was tango, and it's amazing in Argentina how much tango impacts on society and where they go. If I go back a little bit, this is the township of Buenos Aires. What's the name of the soccer player? I should know. Messi, Lionel Messi, yeah. He is treated as a god in Argentina, and everywhere you go you see murals or pictures of him everywhere. Has anyone been to Barcelona? Buenos Aires is virtually like a duplicate city of Barcelona. A bit smaller. It's probably got 5 million instead of the 8 or 10 million in Barcelona. But even then where you go through, and I'll show you some photos later on, where the football stadium is and that, remember the bright, at the Barcelona, where the bright coloured walls of the football stadium is? Exactly the same in Buenos Aires. Big, wide roadways with the buses going through it. Everyone said, was I worried about walking the streets of Buenos Aires? No. As long as you're sensible in any big city, found it very safe. That was one of the first restaurants we went to, which was a traditional restaurant in Argentina. A lot of locals into it. Sorry, Sylvia, can you see that? Sorry.
Okay, now.
The problem with Argentina is the size of their meals. Their steaks and that are probably as big as that plate. you know, they're huge. So we went to a Tango night and Sue decided to have a steak and I decided, no, I'll just have a small piece of pork, and the pork was just as big as the steak. Incredible. So we went down from Buenos Aires, after a few days in Buenos Aires, went down to Ushuaia. And this is what amazed me about Ushuaia was, yes, it was cold, but it had all the penguin colonies and that and seals there. I'm going, why am I going to Antarctica for on a boat? But this is outside the post office in Ushuaia, which is the closest or the furthest post office closest to Antarctica there. So it is a big thing. You go and post your card, send it back home, and it did come back home. What surprised me was that Ushuaia has 80,000 people living there, all because of the tourist industry. And when I was in the bridge one day, I counted 21 boats around that peninsula, all around, all different sizes and types, and from the ultra luxury to the, you know, trading boats that offer the cruises as well from there. That's the front of the boat. One day we were at the front and took that shot. So this is the gear that we got supplied. We ripped off the fur because it kept on getting in the way in the end. But so every day when we were in Antarctica itself, twice a day you had to get into the warm gear in the rooms, and I'll show you pictures of the rooms. Dress up, go onto the tenders, spend a couple of hours out on the ice or water or on the land, and then come back, strip back down, put it in the drying room, go and have lunch and whatever. Then you're back out again in the afternoon. So twice a day we did that. And that's what it was like. So that's an ice shelf. So sometimes the boat can deliberately drive up onto the ice. And unfortunately, the ice was not thick enough or safe enough for us to walk on it in that particular instance. You can see it was close, and there was they like it to be really from a safety perspective. Seals and us, so yeah, the seals probably better looking than us, but yeah, this was a typical view that we had of seals. They just rest around, obviously, if those have seen seals before. These were the interesting ones. This is a picture of different types of penguins. So there's chin straps, and don't ask me the other names of them. And these are the ones that are well known, obviously, within the world of advertising. But it's always active in the Antarctica. Every day we saw something different, and you learn something different along there. So here are the whales, etc., and orcas. One of the things what you see is that you'll get a pair of them, and one will piggyback the other, and go on the other to have a look on the ice to see if there's a seal there to eat. So they go up and ramp up and then attack the ice. So these photos here are all from Sue's camera on a phone. So this is different forms, and we'll show you some different ice forms, etc. This, believe it or not, is the Ukraine Research Center. There's 12 of them there. This gentleman here, look what he's wearing, t-shirt, shorts, bare feet, and minus something degrees. But he was desperate for fresh food and a bottle of vodka.
Not necessarily in that order.
No, exactly, yeah. So when we went on land, etc., you know, we were able to walk along, and we'll show you some shots of that. But if you look at the way we went, so there's a cup of coffee, so whoever makes the coffee, make sure you got the penguin in the middle. This is a couple I was talking about, someone before. They've been on this journey 7 times.
Wow.
7 times been in it. They said they will not go back because this was the best they've ever had it. The calmest, the people. So Sue and I were the only Kiwis on board, and it's amazing how people wanted to know about the New Zealand culture, and especially about Maori, etc. along those journeys. Here you can see us on ice floe. walking on an ice floe there, taken out on a tender. So those tenders would take 10 people, probably they'd only load 6 to 8 on them, and plenty of room there. You can stand up, very safe, very stable, and each day the crews would have them there, and they'd just bring them down, and it's not like some of these bigger boats. I found out some of these bigger boats, you actually get balloted to go on a trip. Everyone went on this trip. You know, they call it deck by deck, and you'd load into the tenders, and there was enough tenders there to take everyone out at once. So, this again gives you a view of a penguin colony from there. People, this is all the crew at one end, at one stage, sitting there. I even got Sue into a kayak, and did some kayaking on the water from there. This is an old hut, old English explorer's hut, no longer being used obviously, but it's kept as a historic place to visit, very much in its original condition. And it had interesting stuff, even to the food that's still in the cans down there. Yeah. This is one of the reasons why we go. You know, you see sites like this all the time as you're traveling. Now, this is on the mainland, right? And you're traveling past it.
Was that one of Sue's shots?
Sorry?
Was that one of your wife's shots?
Yeah, Sue shots. Yeah.
That's fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah, you see some here. So you can see also, your imagination can see what the ice looks like. It looks as if it's been carved. So here's a president of the state, the United States, in the ice. So, you know, they're all there. You got seals and that there as well. But we went one day, stayed on the tender and just went exploring for ice floes through it. So you got all the different shapes there. Here's an interesting place where we went for about a 5K walk through the snow, etc., above that colony before. And as I'm coming down, I've got a little mate here who followed the human track and led me along the way. He was with me for about 300 metres. And then as I was meeting the group, there was quite personality there. So there he is over here as well, walking along. Sue's got a video of it as well. Here's those shapes again. Now, the colour is extraordinary. This must have been just exposed after being on the water, so it must have tipped to get the blue, because blue is actually not a real colour in the water. It's a refraction of light. And so what happens is the blue turns into white from there. So, but you got all the different shapes, and you can call it, can't see what that shape is of, that's just an island. But we spent time and time again looking at these, looking through. So this is looking through the ice along there. And yet again, so you can see all the different formations. So this is like a hand coming out of the water. Or your imagination could be something completely different. And you can see how steady the tenders are. There's all of us standing up on the tenders along that journey. So again, colonies, people, everyone. I don't think I met a grumpy boss. We had one lady who should never have come on the boat because she was sick, and we were all staying right away from her, to the extent that I was. So as much as you had the restaurant, main restaurant, upstairs was a library which had a little cafe there if you just wanted a light lunch or something. And at the end of it is at the on the bow of the ship, you could look out from there. And this, I was talking to her son. She was there with her son. Then all of a sudden she came along and said, "Oh, sorry, I've got to move away." No, I felt sorry because no one would want to deal with her because they were all scared about COVID or catching whatever she was. She was coughing and that all the time.
Did you know all the other people in the groups?
Didn't know anyone. But by the end of the trip you did. But when you think that 62 cabins, that's 120 people, you mixed and mingled. The scientists were with you for all the meal times. If you want to talk to a scientist or mix with them, you can, or the crew, along that journey. So one of the things we did was that on the last night, the captain has a captain's dinner, etc. And we were asked to do a small thank you on behalf of all the passengers. And so we did a traditional karakia for them. Spoken in Maori. Sue speaks Maori, I can speak Maori. And then Sue also spoke in Maori and thanked each part. Started with the crew on the Zodiacs, through to the housekeepers, etc., and left the captain to last. Because they were a wonderful crew, mainly Filipino on the boat. And this boat was a boat that's driven by electric power. The turbine, but it carries something like 5 tons of diesel to keep the generators going, but it's sealed up, so no diesel touches the water. So the props are driven by electric power. See, you can go everywhere mate, with electric power.
As long as you've got a diesel generator. Charging station.
So again, it was so flat that we, instead of coming back to Swale, actually went around further to Cape Horn and spent some time there. There's some birds. This is the drying room where we got dressed and undressed. You did a deck at a time, so there's plenty of room, and there's 2 lots there, so you can go one side or the other side, depending on where your lockers are.
It's beside the diesel generator, isn't it?
No, it's nowhere near the diesel generator. But you can walk from there, you can see going down through there, and you go straight to where all the Zodiacs are, and then straight onto the Zodiac. So they make it very safe and very simple. When you've got the Zodiac, you have a stairwell that goes across between the two. You've got a crewman on the Zodiac, and you've got 2 crewmen on this side. So you step across, and you must grab their wrists on the way through, so you get steady. They insist on that along the way. And you've got an ice lounge. In that ice lounge is where most of the lectures. So every day, one of the scientists would have been given a lecture of a topic that they are expert on. So if you wish to attend, you can. As much as a big TV screen like this, they must have had 40 TV screens around so that you could sit in comfort in a lounge area and watch that lecture as it was given. So even when I did the karakia, they were displayed within all those TV screens. In fact, it was quite emotional because all the women burst into tears after I did it. Because they hadn't realised how strong the culture of Maori and Pacifica is in New Zealand, and they all wanted to experience it. So we went back to Buenos Aires, and these are another shots. This is an interesting up here. This is an old theatre, which is now one of the biggest libraries and bookshops in the world. It's just stacked up everywhere. They've got a cafe in there, yeah, John? 5 minutes, yep, no, we're getting there, yeah. This is a 5-star Italian restaurant. In that restaurant, we had entrees, main courses, shared a dessert, bottle of wine, 23,000 pesos. I'm going, God, how much is this? By the time I got my American Express, it was $110, and that's including the tip. Very cheap place to visit if you're in New Zealand. It's not like going to Africa, you know, very cheap. This is an extremely awesome place to go there. The Glacier Falls. It's on the border of Brazil and Argentina, about an hour's flight north of Buenos Aires. The hotel we stayed in is in the middle of the national park. So we went to, on one side, as we landed, the guide picked us up from the airport. We went to the Brazilian side, walked all through there, back to that, and then came back to Argentina, stayed overnight, and then we walked the rest on the Argentinian side. Unfortunately, I think this is where I had my first heart attack. So the temperature here was about 34 degrees, 90% humidity. But this was on the Brazilian side, and it was below the falls here, and you walk out, you come back soaking wet. But you dry pretty soon afterwards.
What's that picture down on the right-hand corner there?
This one?
Yeah.
This is the monkey on the glass balustrade outside our window of the hotel room. So you're sitting down there and all of a sudden you realise the monkeys come through onto the building looking for open doors. And you don't leave them open because they'll get in there and they'll grab anything, whether it's sunglasses, whether it's the sweeteners out of your coffee or whatever. So no, those were the monkeys there. After we came back to Buenos Aires and then we had to go back to Dallas, so we arrived at Dallas, Fort Worth, 6 o'clock in the morning, so our friends picked us up. And we went to the stockyards in Dallas, Fort Worth. It's like an old traditional western town. And you've got the longhorn beasts that go through traditionally at a particular time down the streets, herded down there. Great environment. If you go to the beach hop, you'll see a car like this at the beach hop in Whangamata. Typical there. This here is interesting because this is about all sizes available concealed carry vests. So that means they can carry their weapons. So you don't know who's carrying a gun or not in this part of America. You can see Texas is very much a Republican area, very much gun supported. Again, this was a restaurant in Fort Worth, Texas. So this is the last view. Now, all these photos we have, Sue is really good in putting her photos into a Snapfish coffee book. And so rather than seeing thousands of photos, you see a selection of photos that gives guests a flavour of what the trip was like. So I hope that gave you a little insight in terms of what Antarctica is. It made me realise the importance of climate change, made me realise the importance of the environment. It's different from the Arctic. And it's amazing the number of Americans who says, where do we see the polar bears? No polar bears in Antarctica. Originally we were going to go to the Arctic Circle, but because of Russia and everything like that, Sue wouldn't travel at that time anywhere near it. So this was our second choice, but we loved going there. Colours.
Ellen, how many days was your trip?
15 days on the boat. So yeah,
And it wasn't too long?
no, because you're doing something every day. The only time it was got but too long was coming back. It's 2.5 days travel from Ushuaia into the Antarctic Circle and back again. But other than those two, but then there's lectures and you meet people and you can have drinks and food or whatever you want to do at that time. There is another trip that boat goes from Ushuaia down to the Antarctic Circle, across to the Ross Sea, and then from the Ross Sea back to the sub-Antarctic islands and then back to Dunedin. That trip from the Ross Sea to Dunedin is 2.5 weeks. So there's no way in the world I would do that from there.
How thick is the ice that you could go through with?
Meters.
These-
Yeah, meters, yeah. So they're looking for ice for around about 6 to 10 meters to drive up onto that will allow the passengers to go down. And yet you saw us on an ice floe where, you know, it was like a little island and they were happy to put us on there because there was no cracks in the ice and it was very deep underneath. What do they say? You know, what's on top of the water is 3 times as much underneath the water. There was, I might have had a shot there, I can't remember. Anyone who wanted to do a polo dip could do that. So what you did was go where the Zodiacs are. They had one Zodiac there, you crossed the Zodiac onto another Zodiac and then jumped into the water and they came onto the platform through there. So there was a young mechanic on board the boat whose fiance was also on the boat, so they decided to do it together in young love. I didn't do it.
You didn't? Oh.
No, I didn't do it.
They would have also given you another day.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of people did do it. Probably a third of the group did it.
It's with it just your togs on.
Yeah. Yeah, just with your togs on, yeah.
And is it always calm like that?
No.
No.
So Drake Passage is normally 3 to 7 meters of waves It's the roughest part. You know, if you see the round the world, you know, in the old days of Peter Blake and the round the world waves, and you see them going down the waves, that's normally in the Drake Passage or in the Southern Ocean from there.
But in around we were looking and seeing the seals and all that stuff, is it?
So there's a 7-metre rise of the tide, right? So, but it's flat on top. It's a bit like going along the Alaskan coast. So for those who have been along the Alaskan coast, in some of the towns, just Kawana would be one, where you've got a river that comes down, and the salmon are waiting down for the river, for the tide to rise, and then they race up the river, and you've got the eagles in the trees waiting to grab a salmon out of the river.
What, did they talk about the fish down there?
Only, not so much fish, no, like the dogfish and that. They didn't talk so much about that. More about the humpback whales, the orca, seals, etc. from there.
Any sign of commercial fishing?
No,
Oh, good.
no sign at all from that. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
Bob?
All of those shots are off your wife's camera. There was
Yes.
one with a bird, a seagull or something similar.
Yeah.
So you were-
Came right across the bow of the boat when she was out there in the cold. I go, good luck to you, I'll stay inside.
Great shot.
Yeah, no, that's all part of that. So where was that? Oh, back there. That one there? Yeah. She cropped it so that it came up. So on it, I didn't realise on these modern phones, I don't know if you've got a 12 or 13, where you've got 3 lenses. Each one of those lenses has a separate control dial that you can work that dial so you get the close-up shot, but still have the background and focus in a different way. I'm not a camera.
Did she have to set that each time, or she just sets it up?
She sets it as she's taking the shot.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, but you know, it's not bad shot there. So the shot like that. Some of these are a bit blurry because I took them off the boats rather than off the book rather than there. But some of those earlier ones with the whales and that. See those shots there. That shot there was from her camera
Yeah.
or phone. Sorry. So these ones here, you see, you know, this is probably 150, 200 metres off the boat. And she's able to get those shots, so, you know, it's well and truly worth it.
So she had an Apple, was it Apple phone?
Eh?
Apple phone?
Yeah,
You have
iPhone.
to add that to the cost of your truck.
Yeah, get rid of the Samsung and come back to Apple.
No,
No, it's interesting, it's interesting, those who are, I would never change back to a Android or Samsung because I'd have to learn to use the phone all over again. And no, I'm too old for that. Thank you very much I hope you enjoyed it. And you know, it's not a cheap exercise to do it, but there's so many alternatives if you want to do it more cheaply than others. We didn't go on the most expensive boat, so Penang would be the most expensive boat I would suggest that goes in there. Well and truly, it's a trip of a lifetime.
What was the name of your boat?
Endurance. And National Geographic have 3 boats. There's the Endurance, I think it's the Heritage, and there's the Vintage. The other 2 aren't icebreakers. That one, the Endurance, is the only icebreaker, and that's the only reason we went down on that. If we were going to go to Antarctica, we wanted to be on that icebreaker from there. And its beauty about only 120 passengers.
Alan, thank you very much for coming along this morning. And obviously, twofold exercise.
It worked.
But it was great. It was really good and a fascinating story. I think we've all probably dreamed of going down there, and you dreamt the dreams. You actually achieved it. So well done. I think travel these days is just getting back into gear, isn't it, after COVID? So
one of my inspirations was when I came out of the police force in '87 and worked for an American company from '87 to '95, '96, and whilst working for them, I worked with an explorer called Robert Swan. And he's the only man in recent times who walked to the southern pole and the northern pole unassisted. But he lost his toes and bit his nose and everything from Icebreaker. But if you read his books, they're an inspiration of exploring. But he set up a research centre in the North Pole for students from around the world to go to. It's incredible, the photo shots of oil containers and bins and rubbish inside the ice and inside the icebergs. And you go, no, we've got to clean up this planet. But, yeah.
No, it's great. Yeah, thank you.
Oops.
Thank you very much for coming
You're
along
welcome.
and
No.
telling us about that. And
Oh, I've never been.